Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 24 based on novel. So let's start. The vast primal universe was divided into two major camps. The human camp's meeting point was the primal secret region, while the meeting point for the United Forces camp was Bloodtooth Star. 90% of Bloodtooth Star was composed of a vast ocean. At that moment, there was an old ship adrift on the Bloodtooth Star ocean where a group of supreme existences from all over the entire primal universe had gathered. Together, they were making merry to their heart's content, drinking the most precious wine and dining on the finest cuisine. With our combined strength, what can those puny little humans do to us? Freedom Alliance? It's so scattered. It only became united because the two major camps were pressuring it. Wait for the exchange of blows during this war. You all will see this happening. That Freedom Alliance is definitely going to have internal conflicts, and then they will be split up for sure. They are not going to be our match at all. The 10 noble existences were seated in a dispersed manner as they talked about it brazenly. They were Shock Demon Ancestor from the Demons, Father God of the Automaton Race, Empress of the Bug Clan, Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan, Holy Master of the Crystal Clan, Black Universe Creator, Jew, Virtual Real Devil God, Northern Territory Alliance Master, and Space Ancestor. All of them put together represented half the number of Universe Supreme Masters in the entire Primal Universe. If we all join forces, the marvelous combination of the various Supreme True Treasures will definitely unleash the strongest combat power. Even if the Freedom Alliance and Human Camp combine forces, we still have a chance of beating them. True. What a pity. That old fellow, Sitting Mountain Guest, refuses to join us, or rather, refuses to take any side at all. Just what is going through the mind of Sitting Mountain Guest? If he joins us, given his secretive and endless stream of methods, together with the numerous universe masters under our command, we can definitely come up with more methods. Then our chances of winning will increase by leaps and bounds. You are gravely mistaken if you really think so. Space Ancestor was seated within the ship while his tail extended all the way out and directly into the large ocean. Sitting Mountain Guest and Luo Feng share a deep relationship, much deeper than any of you presume to know. Oh? Sitting Mountain Guest and Luo Feng? What relationship? Everyone was surprised as they looked toward Space Ancestor. Teacher and disciple. Space Ancestor's eyes swept around his surroundings as he revealed these two words. This sudden revelation shocked all the Universe Supreme Masters. Previously, Sitting Mountain Guest had certainly disallowed Space Ancestor from divulging his actual relationship with Luo Feng to the outside world, unless Luo Feng gained the ability to protect himself. Now that Luo Feng could protect himself, even if Space Ancestor were to reveal their true relationship, he would not be considered as offending Sitting Mountain Guest. After all, deep down in his heart, the more Space Ancestor interacted with Sitting Mountain Guest, the more fearful he was of him. However, this time around, he was filled with dissatisfaction. He was furious. He felt that Sitting Mountain Guest, being Luo Feng's teacher, must have gained some benefits from this arrangement. After all, in this vast universe, the teacher-disciple relationship was the most important kind. How could Space Ancestor not feel any jealousy for Sitting Mountain Guest? I see. That's Sitting Mountain Guest. Previously, he brought up that disciple, Flame Emperor, and now, he had cultivated this Milky Way Horde leader, who was much more impressive than Flame Emperor. How loathsome Sitting Mountain Guest is. He must have gotten the inheritance from his disciple way back then. No wonder he simply refused to join us when I invited him. That fellow is always the first in line for all sorts of benefits. These Supreme Masters were the top-level beings of the Primal Universe. For countless years, they had their fair shares of fights against one another, and at the very least, they had some understanding of one another. But toward Sitting Mountain Guest, they harbored complex emotions. They were jealous and envious of him, but at the same time, they were fearful and cautious of him. There were even times when they had to beg him for help. No one knew how powerful Sitting Mountain Guest was. What they knew was that he had never fought anyone in a head-on confrontation. He was more inclined toward the use of other supplementary methods to tease his opponents. On the big ship, this group of top-level existences of the Primal Universe was brazenly voicing their opinions about various matters. One moment, they could be discussing the war between the two major camps, the next they could be talking about Universe Ocean, and the next moment, they could be discussing other Supreme Masters. Just as they were pouring out their thoughts, without warning, the streamlined, towering body of Father God of the Automaton Race rose to his feet suddenly. Father God of the automaton race might always have stayed within that black sphere body, but just like the rest, he had a godly body. However, his approach involved a machine-type combat method, so he usually stayed within his black sphere where it was safer and where he could unleash a much more powerful combat ability. But in the primal universe, the greatest amount of power these universe supreme masters could unleash was limited to 6th tier as the top level, so it was normal for him to appear in his original body. Everyone. The Empress of the Bug Clan let out a shocked expression. What is it? What happened? Black Universe Creator, Virtual Real Devil God, and the others all looked over. All of them were very baffled over what could have caused the Empress of the Bug Clan and Father God of Automaton Race to lose their composure. I just received the news, Father God of the Automaton Race announced in his strong and powerful voice. The Freedom Alliance has reached a consensus internally and decided to join the human camp. What? Join the human camp? Not good. One by one, their expressions changed drastically. Previously, before the various Supreme Masters who traveled alone joined them, the United Forces camp would never have been able to fight against the combined power of the Freedom Alliance and the human camp. However, after the various lone Supreme Masters joined them with their Supreme True Treasures, and with the Space Beast Alliance's help, they had a fighting chance. However, this battle would be extremely trying because both sides were equally powerful. Space Master suddenly let out a low growl. We need to act quickly. No, we need to act now. Let's set out now. There is nothing much to think about. We, the United Forces camp, must set off right away and charge toward the humans' core ground, the primal secret region. Old Beast God. The other Supreme Masters looked in the direction of Space Ancestor. Yes, what Old Beast Master said was right. Yes. Yes. We should act right away. They were all highly intelligent. Even if Space Ancestor had not spelled it out, they would have figured things out on their own. Freedom Alliance has just reached a consensus, so they may not have obtained the part of the information of the inheritance from the humans. We should take the chance and strike before the two parties gather as one. If we charge our way into the humans' primal secret region right away, the crossfire between our two camps will only last for an extremely short time. By the time the Freedom Alliance rushes over, maybe the war will already have ended. Right. We need to make full use of all the time we have. Everyone was of one mind, one thought. They were all aware that the alliance between the humans and the Freedom Alliance would bring them an agonizing war to fight. Who knew? It might even become a prolonged war, a war of attrition. The outcome would be unpredictable. After all, the humans and Freedom Alliance merged. That would mean the two most mysterious beings of the primal universe, sitting Mountain Guest and Shahua Island Leader, would be there. In addition, there was also Luo Feng, who had received the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. This war was filled with variables. No one was willing to fight such a war of attrition or a war filled with so many variables. They had to win this once and for all and as soon as possible. We must be fast, and end this war as early as we can. They were all very anxious. They knew that, in fact, Freedom Alliance traveled fast. One trip via God Country transportation, followed by another teleportation, and they would arrive. They wanted to make it there before the Freedom Alliance. If not, ending this war was going to be extremely tough. But they had to do this. It was the only way of settling this war that would be relatively easier and faster. Old Beast God, your Space Beast Alliance is going to act as planned, or, Shock Demon Ancestor looked toward Space Ancestor. We can't be bothered about other plans, Space Ancestor decided in his low voice. Now, we must focus all our strength and try to wipe out those humans in one swift stroke. In the end, we must capture the whole group of human universe masters. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The moment they started to act, they would act fast. Old Beast God, Shock Demon Ancestor and the rest of the Supreme Masters seemed to remain on the big ship as though nothing much had changed, but those were just their avatars. Their original bodies had already started returning to their own races to give commands as they all prepared to take their troops out for war. Merely 3 minutes later, in the outer space of Bloodtooth Star, within the vast starlit sky, many massive objects were gathering. At first look, there were 11 gigantic palace-type true treasures belonging to the 11 Universe Supreme Masters who were controlling them from the inside. Each of them was leading a troop of around 40 Universe Masters. Every palace true treasure would fetch a troop of 1 Supreme Master and 40 Universe Masters. These 11 Universe Supreme Masters were Shock Demon Ancestor, Dream Demon Ancestor, Father God of the Automaton Race, the Empress of the Bug Clan, Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan, Holy Master of the Crystal Clan, Northern Territory Alliance Master, Space Ancestor, Black Universe Creator, Jew, and Virtual Real Devil God. Previously, when the united forces of the three races fought against the humans, why had Luo Feng not captured the group of Universe Masters under Father God's protection? Because Father God of the Automaton Race had remained hidden within his black sphere with the troop, which was also where he could keep on protecting them. So even if those Universe Masters were attacked by the impact of willpower of that ancient God Eye and did not have much strength to resist it, Father God of the Automaton Race could use his own body to resist all of it. Now, the United Forces camp would be doing likewise, and they had divided themselves into 11 troops. Each troop would be headed by a Universe Supreme Master. The most ancient God I could attack at any one time would be one troop. Even if it were to launch an attack, with a Supreme Master by their side to protect them, the troop would be safe. This war. What we all have to do is charge into the humans' primal secret region. Then we will execute all our techniques together, and with one swift move, we are going to bring the human camp to total destruction. Then we have to rely on Empress Palace, belonging to the Empress of the Bug Clan, to swallow up the entire human camp of Universe Masters. Do not hold back. Act to your heart's content. All the Universe Masters. For our races. For our future. Let's go, humans' primal secret region. Following Father God's booming voice resounded in every corner, and the 11 massive objects representing the entire United Forces camp took off. Almost at the same time, they all executed their God Country transportation and left successively. Previously, the United Forces camp did not attack proactively because they were waiting for the response of the Freedom Alliance. If the Freedom Alliance had not made its choice after waiting for some time, they would have attacked the humans right away. That would anger the Freedom Alliance because if the United Forces camp had really attacked the humans, the Freedom Alliance would not stand to gain anything at all. This was why the United Forces camp was certain that the Freedom Alliance would join the human camp as fast as they could. Previously, they were afraid that they would be pushing the Freedom Alliance to join the human camp, so they did not dare to make reckless moves. Now, the moment they received this confidential information confirming about the internal consensus that the Freedom Alliance had reached, that they would be joining the human camp, the United Forces camp would hold back no more. At the same moment, in the primal secret region of the human territory, in the main palace, a group of human Universe Masters had gathered. They were all chatting and laughing among themselves. All of them were filled with joy. The Freedom Alliance has reached a consensus. Very soon, the entire alliance will arrive. Once they arrive, we will reallocate all our Universe Masters. Then the United Forces camp will have no chance of winning at all. Ha ha. They were all waiting for the group of Universe Masters from the Freedom Alliance to arrive. The United Forces camp would not have received the news already, would they? They may make use of the minor time lapse where the Freedom Alliance has to travel over to launch their attack right away, right? Remote Lord Master suddenly said. The entire hall fell into silence. Fret not. Pengong Master said with a smile. That was a top-level meeting within the Freedom Alliance. All who attended were Universe Masters, and besides, this concerned their personal interests. The moment they reached a decision, they notified us right away. Would they be so silly as to notify the United Forces camp? Wouldn't they be afraid that we would not hand them the information of the inheritance? The moment he finished speaking, Primal Chaos City Master's expression changed drastically as he suddenly shouted, "Not good. Gather immediately. All you Universe Masters, brace yourself for war." His thunderous voice resounded throughout the entire core ground of the Primal Secret region to reach the ears of every single Universe Master. Upon hearing Primal Chaos City leader's voice, Luo Feng, Pengong Master, Darkness Master, and the others all knew that something was terribly wrong. All their expressions changed drastically. Teacher Origin just made a discovery. Primal Chaos City leader immediately notified the numerous human Universe Masters within the hall. The united force consisting of the demons, the automaton race, and the Bug Clan is going to make use of God Country transportation, all at the same time. Their gathering point should be around the surrounding region of one of the demons' territories, Bloodtooth Star. Right now, they have all gathered and only need to make use of God Country transportation and teleportation. Thereafter, very soon, they will arrive at our primal secret region. This leaves us with little time. We must gather all our Universe Masters immediately. Everyone must hide in Black Prison Tower. My brother, the task of protecting our universe masters, I will leave it to you. Yes. Darkness Master nodded. Numerous figures started appearing successively within the hall. They were the figures of universe masters from various races that had joined the human camp. Seeing how pressed for time they were, Darkness Master saw no need for words. With a wave, a black pyramid instantly expanded at an alarming rate and stood erected within the hall. At the same time, he shouted out his orders: everyone must enter Black Prison Tower right away. We are going to prepare for war. All right. Into Black Prison Tower. Supreme True Treasure Black Prison Tower. This was the first time some of these universe masters from the various races had laid eyes on Black Prison Tower, especially those who had just joined the human camp. None of them were flustered because they understood that by hiding within a palace true treasure, with their opponent having no treasures of willpower with impactful forces, they would be very safe. The moment they were unable to resist further, they could immediately hide in the safety of the palace true treasure. At the very least, they would have no problem staying alive. Streaks of light flew into Black Prison Tower. No matter what, all pre-war preparations were completed. They could respond to the start of a war anytime. Everyone. Primal Chaos City Leader transmitted his voice clearly and gave very detailed instructions to over 100 universe masters in Black Prison Tower. United Forces camp will attack suddenly, and my guess is, they will arrive very soon. The strength of the United Forces camp far surpasses ours. But there is no cause for worry. I have another piece of good news for you all. The Freedom Alliance has agreed to join us, the human camp. So long as we can press on for a time, we are bound to obtain victory in this war. Luo Feng, Peng Gong, Darkness, Primal Chaos City Leader looked towards the trio including Luo Feng. You are all clear on what you must do. Luo Feng and the others nodded with smiles. Merely fight a war to pass the time. Very simple. Primal Chaos City Leader transmitted his orders without delay. All Undying Fighters and Sector Lords are to leave via God Country Transportation right away. Leave via God Country Transportation right away. Upon receiving his orders, within an instant, all servants and patrol guards who were originally situated within this core ground immediately reacted in an orderly manner. A group of Sector Lords would follow one Undying, and this would make up one small team. Then a few small teams would make their escape together. Within a minute's time, several hundred God Country transportation waves appeared within the core ground of the Primal Secret region. Primal Chaos City Leader also nodded silently. Let's set off then, he commanded. Luo Feng and the other two nodded as well. Yes. As Darkness Master transformed into a streak of light and flew into Black Prison Tower, Luo Feng, Peng Gong Master, and Primal Chaos City Leader also transformed into streaks of light and flew toward the towering star tower that stood erected outside the palace. In the Primal Secret region, there was a void space that was filled with a thin fog. With their mighty presence, 11 massive objects occupied this void space. We have entered the humans' Primal Secret region. One more teleportation and we will arrive at the humans' core ground. Let's prepare to fight a noteworthy war. Let's all prepare ourselves. Now, I shall unify our teleportation. The cold voice of Father God of Automaton race resonated throughout the entire void space at the same time, as though his voice transmission could transcend time to reach out to any place of his choosing. Soundlessly, 11 massive palace true treasures vanished from the void space. The secluded clusters of palaces were suspended in a particular area of this void space. Behind these clusters of palaces was a gigantic vessel, the boat of Mausoleum, while in front of them, a towering 9-story tower stood erected, Star Tower. At that moment, there was not a single sound heard from these clusters of palaces, they were already devoid of living souls. In a particular spot, 11 towering palace true treasures suddenly appeared. Every single palace true treasure exuded a formidable force. How come there isn't a single human to be found? Emptiness. No living soul. Not even living souls from other races can be found. They had just arrived, and every Universe Supreme Master heading a troop within each palace true treasure was shocked to realize that this core ground had become a ghost town. They could not locate a single living soul, and this was the exact situation that worried them the most. Right away, Black Universe Creator transmitted a report about the current situation. Star Tower and the boat of Mausoleum are there. Star Tower may be strong in defense, but it is still possible to cause it to waver. On the other hand, the boat of Mausoleum, no matter how we attack, our efforts will be futile. That human camp must be afraid and timid, so they have all hidden inside the boat of Mausoleum, where they can wait slowly for the Freedom Alliance to arrive. Everyone, they are hiding in the boat of Mausoleum, so there is no way we can touch them, Devil Ancestor of Prison Clan replied via a voice transmission. What should we do? Loathsome humans. Timid humans. They just ought to die. How could they have learned so quickly that we had set off? We acted so quickly. By right, they should have been taken by surprise. The numerous Universe Supreme Masters were all angry and displeased. At that very moment, suddenly, from one of the side doors on the ground floor of the lofty, 9-story tower, a black pyramid that was 1 billion kilometers tall, suddenly flew out. The deep abyss at the bottom of the tower had already opened, and a group of Universe Masters stood in a circle by the edge of this deep abyss. Darkness Master, Longyang Master, Ice Mountain Master, and many Universe Masters from various races could be seen. A total of 139 Universe Masters were gathered in one place. The moment Black Prison Tower made its appearance, 139 Universe Masters launched a joint soul attack. Attack! This overwhelming soul attack swept up everything around it, and since a soul attack was intangible, there was no way the naked eye could detect it whatsoever. All at once, 139 Universe Masters, even those who were more skilled in close-range combats and material attacks, were all executing soul attack techniques instead. Right away, the intangible soul attack charged toward a round-capped palace true treasure that was nearest to it. Not good. Beware of the soul attack. The United Forces camp could immediately sense something amiss. However, they had charged straight into the core ground right away, which meant that they were already very close to Star Tower. Furthermore, they had thought that the great beings of the human camp were hiding in the boat of Mausoleum, so they did not exercise vigilance against Star Tower. A while later, over 100 Universe Masters were launching joint attacks focused on one of the 11 Palace True Treasures. A Pinnacle Palace True Treasure was not a Supreme True Treasure, so it was incapable of warding off a soul attack. Block it! Devil Ancestor of Prison Clan roared in rage. A big group of Universe Masters in his surroundings were oblivious at the beginning, but as the soul attack closed in on them, naturally they started to sense it. They, too, executed soul attack techniques with their blurred godly power and threw their attacks at their opponent. However, it was a force of 139 Universe Masters on the other side while they only had around 40 Universe Masters with a single Universe Supreme Master. The difference was much too vast. This was one disadvantage of dividing forces. By dividing themselves into 11 teams, indeed, the effect of Ancient God Eye would be greatly reduced, but at the same time, once any one team was attacked by the humans, it would almost be impossible to put up a resistance over such a terrifying attack. So the ideal situation was for 11 troops to throw out attacks together and to rain down attacks until the humans were struggling to defend themselves, eventually reaching their breakdown point. This way, their opponents would not be able to attack and, of course, they were no longer threatening. But judging by the exchange of blows earlier on, the joint soul attack by the humans was intangible, so by the time the United Forces detected it, it was already too close to them. There was no way the other teams could make it in time to render help or block the attack. The mighty soul attack, upon breaking apart the resistance put up by Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan and his team, immediately fell and hit them hard. Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan and around 40 Universe Masters in his team were all hit by the impact of the soul attack. Humans! At that moment, yells, curses, and roars all sounded at the same time. Yet no matter how they shouted and cursed, a number of Universe Masters, upon being hit by the impact, fell with a crash and completely lost consciousness. Attack! 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 It was only then that the other 10 teams arrived mightily and charged toward the human camp. Devil Ancestor, what should we do? What's our loss like? Right away, the Universe Masters were asking persistently. Devil Ancestor transmitted his message. We are still doing fine. Only one unlucky fellow has been annihilated. Then he shouted another order, attack. The Universe Masters under his command who had made it through this ordeal immediately roared in rage and started to execute their attacks in a frenzied manner. They threw their attacks at Black Tower Prison in the distance. The human soul attack had previously been terrifying, but it had consumed quite a bit of power, and they were quite weakened. Furthermore, Devil Ancestor of the Prison Clan had immediately put himself before his team and resisted much of the impact from the attack. The others were only hit by the remaining impact of the aftermath. Universe Masters were naturally extremely strong in soul defense, thus only one unlucky Universe Master was unable to bear the force of the impact. As for the rest, though it was exhausting, they were all able to bear the impact and pull through to the end. 11 Palace True Treasures from the United Force camp launched an overpowering attack capable of inundating everything between heaven and earth. Then, at the same time, they swept toward Black Prison Tower. Their might was so powerful that it threw the humans into a state of shock. Black Prison Tower, which was originally flying out of the side door of Star Tower, retreated back into Star Tower instantly. It's too powerful. The attack from the United Force camp is simply too powerful. We are not able to block it at all. Darkness Master transmitted his reason for retreat right away. Previously, when the human camp exchanged blows with the united force of the three races, the humans had suppressed to such a great extent that it was on the verge of collapsing. And at that time, the difference in power of both parties was much smaller than it was now. This time around, it was 11 Universe Supreme Masters and around 400 Universe Masters. The other party had over 100 Universe Masters. The difference in power was far too vast. Darkness Master continued with his report. That Palace True Treasure that we attacked is now unleashing an outburst of powerful attacks, and the teams in the other Palace True Treasures were all comparable to one another. Primal Chaos City Leader, from the ambush we laid just now, there should be nothing much to gain. At most, we would have killed 1 to 2 Universe Masters, or maybe none were harmed at all. Then for now, we shall wait, said Primal Chaos City Leader. Wait inside Star Tower. Wait for the Freedom Alliance to arrive. Behind another side door within Star Tower were Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City Leader, and Pengong Master. Amidst the quiet, starlit sky of the universe, an island was erected right in the middle of the mighty golden waves. This was none other than the core ground of the Freedom Alliance. Over 400 Universe Masters had gathered here and were seated on numerous thrones. They had come to a consensus not long ago and were waiting for the humans to hand over part of the information of the inheritance. Shahua Island Leader was seated on the king's throne as he gently swirled the wine glass in his hand. Lowering his gaze to look at the wine glass, he was smiling as he felt pleased with how things were progressing. The great momentum at which the Freedom Alliance is progressing can be used to threaten the humans. Thereafter, I can get in touch with the humans without anyone from the Freedom Alliance knowing about it. Merely giving the information of inheritance to me as the condition in exchange for the entire Freedom Alliance to join the human camp. Oh, how easy it is to get hold of that information on cultivating to achieve the ultimate limit of a Universe Supreme Master. With these thoughts, Shahua Island Leader could not help but feel satisfied. He even started to develop feelings of self-admiration. In fact, right at the beginning, when Luo Feng had received the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River, Shahua Island Leader had already known that within the primal universe, there might be chaos. With the human race gaining strength and power, the conflicts with other races of the primal universe would intensify to such an extreme that there might even be the possibility of a brewing storm. Since then, he had started to devise his plan of action, albeit discreetly, and had tried to get himself acquainted with universe masters of various scattered races. Those scattered races had low social statuses. Therefore, they would ask for nothing more if they were able to form acquaintances with supreme masters who traveled alone. This was how he had managed to get acquainted with a large group of universe masters so quickly. The moment he caught wind of Huge Axe Creator's annihilation, Shahua Island Leader had been immediately aware that this was a catalyst for an imminent war, and it had been ignited long before expected. If Huge Axe Creator was annihilated, the other races would most likely start communicating with one another to prepare in the dark. Or maybe they would not react quite so soon, so he had to quicken his pace and react right away. Everything was developing as expected. The pressure the two major camps exerted on the scattered races had created the perfect opportunity. Shahua Island Master immediately made use of his social skills and relationships with the other great beings to start a round of persuasions. Soon enough, he had gathered a sizable group of powers on his side. Relying on those he had roped in, he went on to further persuade other groups of powers. Finally, he combined everyone he had roped in and established a super alliance, the Freedom Alliance. Be an alliance master? To me, it is pointless. What I am after is, to be truly invincible. To transcend reincarnation. The first thing I want to do is to attain what Teacher Origin has achieved. Then I will aim to transcend reincarnation like East Emperor Ancestor and Purple Moon Ancestor. Shahua Island Leader's chest ballooned up with his overwhelming desire. As a Supreme Master who traveled alone, he was never one to be bothered by the so-called power of alliance. He had established one because he needed to make use of it. He had waited casually all the while, with his consciousness kept connected to the virtual universe as he waited for the humans to reply. He might have connected to the virtual universe before, but previously, he had done so via a hidden identity. However, since the negotiations between the Freedom Alliance and the humans took place, all Universe Masters and Supreme Masters from the Freedom Alliance had permission to connect to the virtual universe. This would facilitate efficient communication between both sides. Suddenly, the leisurely and carefree expression on Shahua Island Master's face disappeared to reveal a heavy and furious mix of emotions. Right away, his eyes swept his surroundings as he shouted out in anger, "Everyone! Just a moment ago, we came to a consensus, yet now, the United Forces camp has already charged their way into the humans' primal secret region." The sudden shout of anger resonated throughout every inch of space on the entire island. Over 400 Universe Masters who were still chatting merrily while waiting for the information about the inheritance a moment before were instantly dumbstruck. How could it be? Why would the United Forces attack the humans at this point in time? We have just reached a compromise internally. How could the United Forces attack the humans so soon? Who? Exactly who could have let the cat out of the bag? Don't you all know that by doing so, we might be throwing away our chance of getting the information on that inheritance? Who leaked the news? The Universe Masters on the island were all in rage instantly. The most infuriated one was none other than Shahua Island leader. This could possibly foil all his fine plans. Obviously, there is someone amongst us who has leaked the news. Shahua Island leader's stern gaze swept across the numerous Universe Masters. This is dashing the hopes for the future of all our Universe Masters. This is unpardonable. Of course, I won't rule out the possibility of an accidental slip of the tongue while conversing with a disciple or friend, but right now, obsessing about trying to find the culprit is pointless. The humans are all in hiding and the United Forces camp can do nothing to them, so the situation is not worsening. What we must do now is head to the human territory right away to join forces with the human camp. All right. True. We will set off now. Not a single Universe Master here can be left out. Anyone who refuses to go shall cast the most suspicion on himself. Some of the Universe Masters were worried that their hopes of achieving a breakthrough to become Universe Supreme Masters had been dashed. Indeed, they were so mad that they were gritting their teeth to contain their anger. Exactly who was the one who had spilled the beans to the United Force camp? Setting off. Setting off. Soon, 6 palace true treasures made a mighty appearance up in the sky above the island. Then they made a speedy departure via their god country transportation. Although they were all from the same alliance, the internal struggles among the cliques formed within the alliance were quite serious. Some scattered races were sworn enemies of one another, so of course, they did not want to work together. As a result, the over 400 Universe Masters were split into 6 teams. And with around 70 Universe Masters in one team, the amount of power they wielded justified their arrogance. In the primal secret region within human territory, the 9-story tower stood erected amidst the void space, and in the distance, 11 palace true treasures were attacking in an unrestrained frenzy. They were causing widespread destruction by reducing everything within that void space to an uncountable flow of particles, which then rained onto Star Tower with a rumble. Star Tower was bombarded. It might have been a little shaken, but it definitely was not sent flying off its spot. This shocked the United Forces camp. So many of us Universe Masters. Together with 11 Universe Supreme Masters, we are such a powerful combination of force, yet we are unable to cause Star Tower to budge from its spot. Could it be because the over 100 Universe Masters within Star Tower are all helping and doing their best to stabilize Star Tower? Star Tower is controlled by Luo Feng. This Luo Feng was the one who received the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. With him around, any mysterious occurrence is possible. The boat of Mausoleum is a treasure with willpower capable of exerting impact, and he took it away. The United Forces camp was angry, yet they were also anxious. Very soon, the attacks came to a halt because they were all aware that the attacks were a complete waste of their godly powers. The humans were successful in their surprise attack previously because what they were attacking was a Pinnacle Palace true treasure. Where a Pinnacle Palace true treasure was concerned, it had close to negligible soul defense ability. But a Supreme true treasure was different. If their opponent was hiding within Star Tower and Black Prison Tower, those were completely capable of blocking all kinds of material and soul attacks. It seems like we are going to fight a war of attrition. When the Freedom Alliance arrives, the situation is going to be even more troublesome. No matter what, we cannot give up on this war. There is no way we can watch the humans becoming stronger. At the very least, we have various groups of power joining forces this time. If we still let the humans off easily with this force of ours, we will become laughing stocks. Behind one of the side doors within Star Tower were Luo Feng, Primal Chaos City Leader, and Pengong Master. Bombard us away? Luo Feng laughed. Ha ha. That endless remote ocean is one of my other bodies. Even though I had transferred it into Star Tower where I can personally control it, getting it to budge an inch is a challenge to my limits. Now that the endless remote ocean is within Star Tower, how heavy is Star Tower now? I really have no idea. And they seek to bombard it away? The United Forces camp must be extremely angry, Pengong Master commented while shaking his head. I'm afraid up until now, they are still oblivious to the fact that every move they make, Teacher Origin is watching, and we will always be a step ahead. Yes. Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City Leader both nodded. Even within the human race itself, prior to this, Luo Feng and the rest had also been unaware that Teacher Origin was able to see almost every situation happening to them in every inch of the primal universe, not to mention the other races within the primal universe. Let's wait for the Freedom Universe to arrive, Primal Chaos City Leader said. Then things will get so much easier. If there was no Freedom Alliance, the United Force camp could have bound the humans quite effortlessly, and they could have sustained such bondage for eternity. All that was required of them was to leave behind over 200 Universe Masters and a portion of their Supreme Masters as permanent residents. Then the humans would have been completely suppressed. The other Universe Masters could then take turns to enter Universe Ocean for adventures anytime they pleased. Seizing all the human territories, then binding the entire human camp were ways to deprive the humans of any room for development. Very soon, the other races within the human camp would break away because those other races had to think of their own people as well. Yet this would cause the humans to get weaker and weaker, and eventually, it would be hard for them to establish a firm foothold in the primal universe. They might even have to retreat back into their original universe. Luo Feng, how could you be so daring as to? Primal Chaos City Leader took one look at Luo Feng as he sighed inwardly. That plan was much too dangerous. Of course, the humans were in no danger at all. The one in danger was Luo Feng, only Luo Feng. We cannot do that. With the Freedom Alliance joining us, we definitely have an edge over the United Forces camp. Luo Feng doesn't need to take such a risk. The United Force camps will never be able to realize their goal. It is their fate. Primal Chaos City Leader was still waiting. He was still keeping in touch with Shahua Island Leader via the virtual universe, who had, in turn, informed him that the Freedom Alliance would make their way over without delay. From within Star Tower, Luo Feng, Pengong Master, and Primal Chaos City Leader looked out far into the distance and saw 6 massive objects making a sudden appearance. They have arrived. They have arrived. Luo Feng instantly expressed his joy, while everyone else, from Primal Chaos City Leader to the numerous Universe Masters within Black Prison Tower, were all very excited. Amidst the void space, 11 Palace True Treasures of the United Forces camp were dangerously near. They had been conversing in secret because they knew that their opponent seemed aware of their plan of a sudden attack prior to their arrival and had managed to make a clean escape before they arrived. Thus, they had been unable to achieve their goal. As a result, they were forced to carry out a most insane war of attrition. They are coming. The Freedom Alliance has arrived. They all saw the 6 massive Palace True Treasures appearing from afar, and those 6 Palace True Treasures exuded such a formidable oppressive force that it was obvious that the Universe Masters inside were doing it on purpose. The Freedom Alliance's 6 Palace True Treasures arrived in a mighty manner, unleashing such an endless, oppressive force that seemed to proclaim their status as the top group of power in the primal universe through the exhibition of such might. Humans, we have arrived. We have arrived. This particular area in space might have been under the influence of those Supreme Masters who were forcing the virtual universe to remain open. All of them had avatars within their own race's territory. Naturally, they were still able to connect to the virtual universe. This was how the 6 Palace True Treasures, apparently each with one representative from the 6 major factions, remained in touch with the humans. Freedom Alliance, what are you waiting for? Primal Chaos City Leader responded. Hurry over and help us humans. With both of us joining forces, we can definitely defeat our enemy, the United Forces. No hurry. Primal Chaos City Leader, don't get too anxious yet. You humans must hand the information of the inheritance over to us first. As agreed, before the war, you must give us a portion of it. After the war, you will give us the remaining part. So, you all must first hand over part of the information of the inheritance. After we have seen, verified, and confirmed it, we will help you without reservation. Otherwise, we are in no position to attack anyone. Yes. Give us our share of the information on the inheritance first. The leaders of each of the 6 major factions were of one mind. This video will end here.